What's going on, Blake?
Oh, not a lot. Getting a lot of things prepped. We're kind of in that phase where we're getting everything ready, but we're not doing anything that looks. There's like 1,000 tiny jobs, right? It's like the death by 1,000 cuts, but it's like, progress by 1,000 tiny jobs. So right now we're doing a bunch of mock-up on the engine, things like the turbo oil feeds. So obviously 2Js come twin turbo, so there's 2 oil output feeds on it. So we have a bunch of goodies that have come in from Naber Racing. We've been using a lot of their stuff because so far everything I think we've seen from them has been pretty nice quality equipment and components. So.
Yeah, I think so too. They're pricey, but their stuff is really, really top notch.
Yeah, and it's kind of I'm a fan of the buy once, cry once. You tend to buy cheap stuff and then you end up spending more, buying things 3 times than if you just buy the good stuff. So, but yeah, so we got the feed. There's basically an adapter. I don't know what I would say they're like BPT, British pipe thread, I think, is a lot of the fittings on it. I don't know why Japanese cars in the 90s use British pipe thread, but they do. It's almost NPT, but not quite.
I don't know why my American-made Chevy Camaro takes metric and standard.
Right. Well, that's because General Motors. But so there's basically a washer sealed plug, a crush washer sealed plug on the back of the motor for one of the oil passages, and then on the front there's a -4 adapter, and that runs to the oil feed on the turbo with this very nice little. I like the coated. Braided. It's kind of nice, and they do it's funny because I thought I was all creative doing the heat shrink on the end of it, and they do the same thing, so I guess I wasn't that creative.
No, man, it gives a nice finishing touch, and it kind of protects the ends there.
Yeah.
That looks like you got the oil feed on the turbo.
Yeah, it's not fully torqued down yet, but it's I was making sure everything fit properly, and that we had bolts. Bolts are important.
Bolts are important.
So the thermostat is mocked up into the thermostat housing. The oil drain back to the pan is mocked up in place. So all of that. The powerhouse parts are really nice. They have an O-ring machined. They have an O-ring groove machined with an O-ring in it, where it seals up, so you don't have to use the gasket. Those paper gaskets love to eventually get oil soaked and start seeping oil. So the O-ring should essentially never seep oil. So it's kind of a slick little design. I really like it.
Nice.
So that's all put in. Like I said, a lot of this is just kind of mocking up and getting things ready. I drove in the ball bearing oil gallery seals in the back of the motor, so those are in, and the pilot bearing in the center of the crankshaft is in. So the clutch is sitting there waiting on some ARP flywheel bolts. So those should be in probably, I would assume, Monday or Tuesday.
I would think so. I mean, I ordered them a few days ago, and they're coming from Jegs, and I know Summit's been well behind their standard. You order them one day, you get them the next. I don't think Jegs is a little bit better. I would think you'd have them in a few days, worst case scenario.
I ordered my racing scales from Jegs, and they came in 2 days.
That's perfect.
So
well, you might have them tomorrow then.
So once those come in, we'll get the flywheel put on. And then I've got to measure the clutch depth for the throwout bearing, or for the slave cylinder, not throwout bearing. I need to set the depth for the slave cylinder and shim that. So that needs to be right, just to get the proper clutch feel and clutch wear. Those clutches aren't cheap, so you kind of set them up correctly.
No, I definitely paid once and cried once loudly for that one. Fortunately, the twin disc I think is rebuildable, so in the future if I wear through that one, which it's a clutch, it eventually will wear out. When I have to refinish it or whatever, it won't be nearly so terrible to pay for again. I know we were talking off camera just a little bit. You've done a ton of work on the inside, and it doesn't look like it because, like you were saying, wiring, you do all the wiring and essentially it looks the same, but I can't stress enough the countless of hours Blake has put in this car with wiring probably alone and how much that really takes. And you don't see it, but really the wiring and ECU and all that work is what's going to make this thing work. And it may not look it, but there is a lot of work that's been put into this just in the inside and wiring alone.
Yeah, there really is. Get rid of a couple things here that are already installed and just sitting here making a mess of the seat.
Oh, you're fine.
But, well, and they run me out of room to sit. But yeah, essentially, what we've been working on lately is getting all the gauge stuff done. So I've got to run 3 more leads. These are all gauge leads. So This is the heads-up display. This ties in to the tachometer and speed sensor.
Very nice.
And then, so that's all wired up, and then power, ground, ignition, and I think illumination. So, and then this is the Haltech gauge. So this gets CAN bus and ignition and ground. There's a Haltech CAN hub, bridge, whatever you want to say. It's just a splitter. But this will plug into that down underneath here. And then these are all sensor leads. So 3 of these. These 3 are fuel pressure for the transducer. These 3 are for the boost pressure transducer. And then there's 3 more that haven't been run yet that I'm going to run today. And those will be for the oil pressure gauge. And then everything else uses the OE wiring down to the factory. These are all factory GM plugs. So everything else comes out of this. And then there's a lovely bundle here, which is essentially everything else. So a few of these, 6 of these wires connect to these 6, 3 more connect to the other oil pressure gauge, and then a bunch of these connect either into this or into the Haltech IO expander, which will go down here, and then the CAN bus connection. So this is the next thing on the list, is going to be essentially putting all of these to where they go. Everything's labeled. We'll revalidate them anyway.
Okay.
But then once this is all wired in, so this and this is integrated, and a couple, just I think 3 or 4 more wires are run. I've got to pick up the clutch pedal and brake pedal sensor, so we'll pick those up under the dashboard.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a new gas pedal. I ordered on eBay a CTS-V unit that's more electronically driven, it looks like, which we're gonna need for this setup. Maybe I can put my fancy, you know, dotted steel-looking pedals back on the new pedal to match. I don't know. We got some of the gauges installed. We got the fuel pressure. That was an old one. I just thought I'd keep. It works fine. It looks good. And then I've got a mix with the Pro Sport boost gauge, which I really liked this one. And then the Haltech unit on top, which I mostly am going to use that for wideband, I believe, but it's multifunction. I can cycle through the systems in the car, can give me a bunch of other information as well. If you know, if something else is going on, it can alert me via that, and I can kind of cycle through that. So I think it's a good placement for everything. Speaking of other gauges, we got the dash back with the other 2 pods, which I'll open up. I don't think it's even been opened yet for Blake's, but they've got those 2. I'm going to take that back today because I'm going to bring that back over to Kimmel Fabrication, and all those custom gauges that we got from them that go in the dash. They fit in that plastic piece really well, but they're just kind of sitting in it and it's pinched. And they said they would put some screws in there just to make sure it'd be all secure, just to be safe for me once I had it all finished. Now it's finished, we're going to run that over there.
Well, we need to delete this, right?
Yeah, either that or I don't know what the best thing. If I can cut it out, put some foil tape over it, you know, something to take that off, because this is essentially where the 2 gauges are going to sit in that. So yeah, we'll have to delete that, which fortunately is just plastic, so it looks pretty simple.
Yeah, I think it unscrews and it just pops off, and then just get some literal duct tape, some aluminum tape.
I've got some.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to, in a former life, clean air ducts, and I still have some foil aluminum tape. That stuff's actually wicked expensive, but I've still got some. I can bring that over, and it's perfect for something like that. That's perfect
for that. Like literally what it's made for.
Yes.
So one of the few times we're actually going to use like home improvement goods in a car in the way that they were architected by the creator.
Correct.
So.
Well, do you want to? I guess I'll pan out and we can take a look at that pod so that people can see. Let's see how the everything turned out. Of course, they re-zip tied my beautifully packaged item. I kind of went crazy when I boxed this up.
Did you ship this to them in the?
I did, and I shipped it with the pink balloons.
Oh, so the balloons were a
touch. They were mine also, but it's a plastic piece. Yeah, I think you can get another one in Hawk's 3rd Gen for like $30. But the way I saw it, I'm like, man, if I go cheap on this and send it in a cardboard box, it's gonna get thrown around or something, cracked, and then I got to deal with waiting on getting another unit. And then I just didn't want to mess with it. I figured it was better just to
Sure.
to do correctly the first time, even as hideous this is, and this cost me an arm and a leg to ship it to him in the size, believe it or not. I don't know why, but it seems like shipping prices have really gone up lately, and maybe that's because of COVID or maybe...
Oh, demonetized.
Yes. I don't know. Either way, I spent almost half of what it cost me for the actual work to be done just in shipping it to him, but that's how it goes sometimes. All right, let's take a look here.
I really think the pink balloons are what sets it off.
Oh yeah, makes all the difference. Thank you for purchasing Ortiz Custom Pods. Blake, you want to do the honors? Kind of one-handed with the gimbal. Keep my pink balloons from running away.
Put away the cutting device.
I saw the picture of what this would look like, and it looked like it was going to be all right. I didn't really like the idea of all the crazy gauges all over the place in the car. It's just the way it ends up. But all of them are kind of needed.
Because you spend too much time in aircraft, you don't know how to deal with not having 100 gauge.
There's truth to be said with that. And yet another one.
I spent a lot of time around Mazdas, so I'm like incredibly afraid of damaging plastics.
Are they really brittle?
Plastics are, yeah, they're made out of like dried tofu or something. I'm not sure, but it's not, whatever it is, it's not strong. Oh, that looks good.
Yeah. Yeah, it came out well.
All right.
They've repainted this, which I would think they would have to, but
yeah.
I think that's going to turn out pretty darn good. So tomorrow, which will be same video as far as everyone watching this is concerned.
Internet magic.
Yes, exact. Probably snap my fingers and we'll be at Kimmel, and we'll have the new gauges put in there, and I'll add the other two, and we'll be complete with this. And then the last thing I'm going to do tomorrow is take some stuff to be powder coated. I've got the intake at my house, and then Blake's got the bungs welded on, the valve covers here for the breather. I'm going to do black. That much I know for a fact. I'm really up in the air. I like the wrinkle black, but there's something just really, really clean about the satin black, and I could probably do satin on these. I mean, I'm going to have coils on top of this, so I don't know how much you're really going to see when it comes down to when this is done anyway. But as far as...
go between. So
oh, do they?
They go right here.
Oh, the bracket's right down the center.
Yep.
Well,
so you'll see
quite a bit then.
Quite a bit of those, yeah.
So, and I think the coil bracket we got, I think that's more of almost a gloss black, so it may look better for some kind of satin or something to almost closely contrast this. So I may do satin on these. The intake, I know you custom made, and you may not think, it's just like me. I weld too, and my welds are about half as good as yours, and we've got a friend that does almost perfection work.
Yeah, so, well, and these welds, don't be too critical of these welds. Oh, great internet, because these are old, oily, dirty valve covers.
Oh, these things are filthy. They're pitted.
So they're not real fun to weld. Basically, I have to weld them, and then I have to do a second pass over it all just to burn out all the impurities. So it's not. Some of them turned out all right. Like this, that's not too terrible.
Nah.
But yeah, these ones up on top, it was real dirty. And at the end of the day, the hole is plugged, and that was kind of the purpose.
This whole thing, I'm way more concerned about functionality than I am appearance.
Yeah, and here's the other beauty of this is there's a cowl right here.
Yes.
You can't see any of this anyway.
Right.
And at the end of the day, the other thing is I had to be careful with this because I didn't want to jam these full of heat. I mean, these are going to be fairly resistant to warping because of the complexity of the shape, but you still don't want to just bake them and warp them,
right,
and then leak oil forever.
Absolutely not.
So oil leaks suck.
You know what? No matter even if I go with the satin finish or a wrinkle black finish, either way, it's going to look better, and it'll look fine when it's all said and done. I'm just not sure yet. And I'll revert back to the Mustang because it has some wrinkle underneath it. I like the texture of the wrinkle, and as Blake was mentioning earlier, it really hides a lot of stuff. Of course, the gimbal's gonna freak out like it always does.
Yeah, wrinkle black is like grinding, right? I'm an okay welder, but I'm an excellent grinder. And then what I can't make up for with the grinder, you know, I just make up for with wrinkle black paint.
It looks good. it really does. And I might even do a combo. I might do the valve covers one and the intake another. I just haven't decided yet. But we'll find out when I pick up from the powder coating place what I decided. If you guys have any opinions, feel free to drop it in the comments. Of course,
I'll tell you, satin black is easier to keep clean.
It is, and that's what Sean kept saying. He's like, man, the wrinkle black, it looks neat, but dude, once you get dirt and all those cracks and stuff, I mean, it may be black dirt, it may be hidden, but it's going to be a pain to clean. Where the satin, you can just, you know, spray some detail on it, wipe it down, and you're good. So, I don't know. We'll see what I go with.
Either one's going to look really good. It's going to look sharp. It's going to be a good looking motor.
I think so too. Well, thanks for the updates, Blake. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
And we're off to either Kimmel Fabrication or the powder coating company. Just like that, we're here at Kimmel Fabrication, where Sam's going to be setting the gauges back in the pod like he made them before. And they actually fit in there really, really snug when you guys did it before. It was almost hard to get out of there, but we're going to reset them now and put some screws in there, so I don't think they'd probably move anyway, but this will kind of ensure they're not going to set anywhere. And we can see what the finished product's going to look like now that we've got the new pods made into the dash, and we'll put all the gauges in and see what the finished product will look like. There she is. Yeah, I think that's going to look really good in the Camaro. Yeah. I think it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, it looks good. I like that add-on pod. That'll look nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the finishes match, which is good.
Yeah, it does. Well, Sam, thank you very much again.
No problem.
I really appreciate it.
Glad to be a part of it.
Well, I don't know if you guys remember last time we were here. I think I called it Panacea, Pankia. I think it's Panacea. Anyway, they did the coating before for the turbo hot side and the manifold. Now we're going to do the valve covers and the intake. Just picking out on what black I wanted. So we'll see when it comes out. Thank you guys very much for taking care of everything. I really appreciate it. You think about a week or so to get it done?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Fantastic.
All right.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
And that just about wraps it up for today's episode. So drop a comment and let us know what you're thinking. Wrinkle black, flat black, satin black. Not really sure. we'll see what it ends up being. We'll see you next time.